In the Himalayas, where the altitude is very high, the plant exudes the resin to protect itself from the sunlight. This resin is then collected, usually by groups of kids running through the fields with sacks wearing sacks, and then the resin sticks to the sack, and they have a knife, and they just scrape off the resin, put it into their hand, and go like that, and make a temple ball. You know, they make something the shape of a sphere, which is referred to as a temple ball. They might press it like that, where you have temple stick. So Nepalese resin usually comes in the form of balls or sticks.
In 1984, I moved to Mallorca. Despite having been acquitted of smuggling several tons of marijuana into the UK, the taxman felt that nevertheless there was a taxable income out there, which had been made from dope smuggling. So I decided to become a foreign resident for tax purposes. I chose Mallorca primarily because it was legal to smoke marijuana there, and also because of the presence of an English-speaking community and English schools.
Hello, welcome to Palma.
Rewind, everything's okay. Rewind, everything's okay.
This is what I do on my work, and where I wrote my book actually is in this office. This is some of the evidence against me, all the documentary thing. And this is my son, who is currently doing his homework and having his breakfast because he has missed school. You see his bench there? That's where the DA agent used to sit every morning to see which direction I drove to. I'm a member of this sporting community. Have been for a long time, but tended to use it just for the phone box here. Very good. Park outside near it. You can tell if there's anyone following you very easily. You can make out like you're going for some sport. And this is it. This is the phone box. I did all those multi-ton deals in the 80s from largely this one, not only this one. This is the main one. The only thing wrong with Spanish phone boxes is they don't have a number that you can be called back on. It's one huge disadvantage for the scammer. There's not being able to give the number of your phone box to be called back. You want to leave as little trail as possible. Theoretically, any phone call you made can be recorded, logged, documented. When you're in a hotel, you essentially never make a call from your hotel room unless it's to legal, straight business connections or whatever one's front was. I used to make a habit of just ringing the US Embassy immediately from my hotel room, or at MI6. The best thing is to avoid phone calls, really. Once I had a friend of a friend actually, called Dave Fry, who would fly 500 miles just to get off the plane, go and tell you to f off and then fly back again. He simply wouldn't use phones and would fly rather than make a telephone call. Okay, it's getting very sweaty in those places. Dare is one of the most beautiful places on the island. At one time it was home to dope-smoking hippies, but now we run into Michael Douglas, Lynn Franks, Annie Lennox, all of whom have homes here. It's my daughter Golly. This is Tom, the son of probably my first ever
dystopian about it. You know, these religions and God knows what. Because
nice, I'd really be at peace with it.
well, that would you start to weird things like taking acid and lying face down. No, it is good for you. Yeah. I'm not recommending it, you know.
Well, in a sense, my relationship with my kids cannot be conventional because I was a fugitive for several years and in prison for several more. You know, we can't emerge with a conventional relationship from that unless we're two extremely unconventional people. There are a lot of things about me that my children admire, and there are an awful lot of things about me that my children think are completely Their ability to talk to me very openly about drug experiences probably is not found in too many parent-children relationships. I try to ensure that they can come to me with any problem. So I'm sure they don't. You know, I mean, even with dope and things, I'm sure that they got a few secrets about their dope taking too. You probably recognise the Campione. When I first arrived there, I was using the name Anthony Tunnicliffe. By the time I left, I was using the name Donald Nice. And there were a few in between. Well, that's me. Hayes, I think. John Hayes. As me. I kept a nickname through all that, Albie. I mean, everyone knew me as Albie despite my change of identity. Friends did. Let's see if I can find those, the garden. I think that's the garden, isn't it? That's where I buried it, out there, I think. I know there were plants, you know, there's like soft soil, you couldn't bury it in. Obviously, for most smokers, smuggling means going over for a weekend in Amsterdam, getting about half an ounce and sneaking it up your ass and flying back with it or hiding it somewhere. Obviously, when you smuggle large quantities, it's a very, very different affair. 5 tons, well, say a ton, a 20-foot container would take about 5 tons of marijuana and take about 5 times as much hash. Until I bought in the Columbia into Scotland, it only dealt with large amounts of hash, up to about 4 or 5 tons. So that 4 or 5 tons of hash would get into about a quarter of that. Whereas the whole of it would be required for 5 tons of marijuana. So, yeah, that's about 5 tons worth of marijuana.
Yeah, you couldn't stick that up your ass, could you?
Depends on the size of your ass, of course, but I doubt it.
I've been performing for a while now, touring my one-man show across the country. I'm a stand-up comic. I can't stand up.
Memories fall, they make no sense at all. There's no one I recall, they just faces.
The chronic hashish user eventually becomes hysterical and insane.
Yes. There you go, Aaron.
I'm organising. Chronic hashish users are known as hashishis. A term of reproach in our country, Egypt, meaning useless derelicts. Hashish is the principal cause of insanity occurring in Egypt.
I know.
In a sense, I suppose this show evolved from book readings I was doing for the publisher. I noticed that the book readings were evolving or devolving into a kind of question and answer.